Today we are diving into one of the most foundational concepts in political philosophy, Aristotle's classification of constitutions. This isn't just about ancient history. It's the framework that helps us understand every government that has ever existed, including our own. We're going to break down exactly how Aristotle viewed power, justice, and the soul of the state. First, we need to redefine what a constitution actually is. To us, it's a legal document, but to Aristotle, a constitution or politeia was something much deeper. It wasn't merely a written legal document. He saw it as the soul of the state, or the very way of life for that community. It determines two critical things: who holds the power, and crucially, how citizens live their daily lives within that political community. It's about the social structure, not just the laws. At the heart of any constitution is the citizen. But who counts as a citizen? Aristotle defines a citizen as someone who has the power to take part in deliberative or judicial administration. In his famous words, a citizen is one who rules and is ruled in turn. This creates a powerful loop. The Constitution determines who qualifies as a citizen, and the citizens then define the nature of the Constitution. Aristotle didn't just guess at these theories. He was a scientist of politics. He studied 158 distinct constitutions from across the ancient world, including Athens, Sparta, and Carthage. From this massive data set, he built a classification system based on two factors. First, the number of rulers, whether it's one, few, or many. And second, their end goal. Are they ruling for the common good or for their own self-interest? This brings us to his famous six-fold classification matrix. He divides governments into two columns. On one side, we have normal constitutions, which are law-abiding and dedicated to the common good. These are monarchy, aristocracy, and polity. On the other side, we have perverted constitutions, which are despotic. These serve the ruler's self-interest and ignore the law. These are tyranny, oligarchy, and democracy. Let's break them down one by one. We start with monarchy, or kingship. This is rule by one supreme individual who is preeminent in virtue. Aristotle sees this ruler acting almost as a shepherd for the people, possessing godlike qualities of leadership. However, he notes a practical problem. This form is constrained by rarity. Finding a single ruler with perfect virtue is exceptionally uncommon in the real world. When monarchy goes wrong, it deviates into tyranny. This is rule by one for personal benefit. Aristotle called this the worst form of constitution because it treats citizens as slaves through force. He used a striking analogy. A tyrant rules over his people like a master ruling over tools, rather than leading free individuals who deserve dignity. Next is aristocracy. The word aristos means the best, so this is rule by the best, a small group of virtuous men governing based strictly on merit and virtue. Their goal is to achieve the best life for the entire community. It is not about protecting their own wealth or privilege. It is about stewardship. But when the few lose their virtue, aristocracy corrupts into oligarchy. This is rule by the wealthy few. Here, power is based on property and money rather than virtue or merit. The goal shifts dramatically. Instead of the common good, the goal becomes protecting the rich and accumulating more wealth. As Aristotle noted, in this system, the rich are few, but the poor are many. Now we come to Aristotle's favorite practicable system, polity or constitutional government. This is ruled by the many, specifically the middle class. It blends the wealth of oligarchy with the freedom of democracy to create stability. Aristotle called this the best practicable state because it is dedicated to the rule of law and balanced governance, avoiding the extremes of the very rich or the very poor. Finally, the deviation of polity is democracy. To Aristotle, democracy wasn't the ideal we think of today. He defined it as rule by the poor majority pursuing absolute equality in all things as their primary goal. He identified a fundamental flaw here. Because men are equal in freedom, they think they are equal in everything. This mindset, he warned, can lead to mob rule. Underlying these classifications is Aristotle's theory of justice. Oligarchic justice emphasizes inequality. You receive what you own through property rights. Democratic justice pursues arithmetic equality. Everyone receives the same regardless of contribution. Aristotle advocates for a third way, proportional distribution. You should receive what you deserve based on merit. This brings us to his famous philosophical concept, the golden mean. Aristotle believed virtue exists between extremes. For example, courage lies between cowardice and rashness. He applied this to politics. Polity represents the mean between oligarchy and democracy. It is the stable middle ground between the rule of the rich and the rule of the poor. The key to this balance is the middle class. Aristotle argued the middle class serves as the savior of the Constitution. They are neither envious like the poor, nor arrogant like the rich. Because they obey reason and law consistently, they stabilize the state. As he famously wrote, "Great is the state where the middle class is large." Aristotle also grappled with distributive justice and equality. He distinguished between two types. Numerical equality counts everyone as one equally, reflecting democratic principles of universal participation. Proportional equality weights influence based on contribution, reflecting aristocratic, merit-based principles. A stable constitution must thoughtfully mix both equality types for lasting effectiveness. But stability isn't guaranteed. Aristotle identified specific causes of constitutional change or revolution. First, a passion for equality drives change. Inferiors revolt to be equal. Equals revolt to be superior. Second, profit and honor motivate upheaval when rulers exploit office for personal gain rather than public service. And third, fear precipitates revolution, either fear of punishment or fear of suffering continuing injustice. So how do we prevent this? Aristotle offers two main solutions. First, education in the spirit of the Constitution. This cultivates civic virtue and constitutional loyalty among citizens. Second, the rule of law. This ensures that law should govern, not men. Combined with short tenures and respectful treatment of excluded classes, this preserves stability. Without these checks, we enter the cycle of constitutions. Regimes naturally decay through predictable stages. A king becomes a tyrant, aristocrats become oligarchs, and the mob returns the state to monarchy. To stop this inevitable cycle, Aristotle argues that establishing a mixed constitution, balancing different elements, proves essential. Now we must look at Aristotle critically. Was he right? Modern critics point out his defense of slavery as natural, and his exclusion of women and workers from citizenship entirely. However, he receives immense praise for establishing the concept of the rule of law, constitutionalism, and for correctly predicting the crucial importance of the middle class in maintaining political stability. Finally, let's compare modern versus ancient constitutions. The ancient understanding was that a constitution represents a way of life and a social structure defining community identity. Our modern understanding is often just that a constitution is a written legal document. Yet Aristotle would ask us the hard question: does the document match the reality of how we live?